This is live at local morning radio, coming to you from the studios of Magic Broadcasting on Laird. This is the Kramer Show. This is the Kramer Show. The phone is now open, and the phone operators are standing by. Turn down your radio when you call. Pay attention and be ready to go. 850-233-9988.
I said, if you're having the best time of your life right now, look at it. Yes, sir.
This is Kramer.
7:05. Welcome. Good morning to you, baby. Yeah, nice to have you. Yeah. I'll tell you what we're going to do here. Here's what we're going to do, baby. We've got Scott Major on the phone, and we're going to go to Scott Major. Scott Major, an excellent attorney, one of the best, and he can help you with anything post-Hurricane Michael. We're going to give you a MAGA hat, and we're going to give you a Scott Major Parúas, and the Storm Help Team Love and Kisses You t-shirt. So we're going to clothe you this morning, all for asking a legal question to Scott Major. Very easy to do, 850-233-9988. Scott Major, 30 years handling insurance claims. He came from the insurance side. Without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, the one and the only, incomparable, Scott Major. Good morning.
How you doing, pal?
I am excellent. How are you doing? What's going on with Scott Major? Did you have a good night last night? Did you get some rest? How are things?
Things are just wonderful. I got nothing but good things to say.
Well, where did you want to start today, Mr. Major?
Well, I think that it would be nice to take a moment and talk a little bit about what happened yesterday and the cavalcade of questioning and integrity challenges and other things that went on with the bar hearing. A lot of people don't realize that the Attorney General was not required to release anything in the report. They didn't have to provide the report at all.
Correct.
Could have provided a 4-page summary. Could have just said there are no charges. And, providing the report, is sometimes, a mistake, but I think that they calculated that it'd be better to let the public read whatever they want out of it, and whatever, nonsense you wanted to make of it, you could make of it. I think the bottom line is that this is over from the standpoint of the Justice Department, and people need to spend more time trying to, fix the problems that we have today, focus on what we can do for infrastructure and for further job creation and the economy and international issues that are coming up by the day. I think it's a bit more important to talk about the impact of, Venezuela and the Russian, presence and Cuban presence in Venezuela than it is to discuss whether or not Barr used the wrong word. He should have used the instead of And I just think it's unfortunate because, again, the majority of people, even Democrats, do not feel the way Kamala Harris and some of these other, and Hirono feel. The majority of Democrats are not mean-spirited, attacking, name-calling people. They're good people that have views that may be similar or different than some of the Republicans out there. We're all Americans, and we all want the best for all of our people. And I just think it's, again, unfortunate when you have people that are grandstanding because they're trying to make a political statement or they're trying to name call when it's just disgraceful. I don't think it sends a good message when you call people liars and terrible people and just make up statements in order to, defame somebody. And people think that that is the appropriate approach, especially younger people, that it's appropriate to polarize, people and say that the way you win an argument is to name call and put down people and misstate and misrepresent what's actually either in the report or what happens. I mean, most people aren't going to read the 400-page report, so they don't know who's, telling the truth. Barr doesn't have an interest in lying. It doesn't help him whether you think he's good or bad. He doesn't have an. He doesn't know the president. He's not some 40-year friend of the president. The attorney general. He was for Bush. Okay, and the Bushes aren't that fond of Trump. So you're not talking about somebody who's some lifelong friend of Trump. So, the attorney general is a bright person who's trying to do the best he can in that situation. What I think is significant and why I think there's so much noise, why I think there's so much yelling and name-calling, is they figure the louder they scream, the better that maybe they'll be heard, because they're so, using Nadler's word, so terrified of what's to come. As I mentioned to you a couple of weeks ago, the OIG, the Office of Inspector General report, is coming out. It will actually devastate what happened in the FISA abuse scandal. I guarantee you're going to have criminal indictments, you heard it first here, that are going to come out of that. The behavior of the people, and remember, this entire operation, this entire set of events that has occurred here were almost exclusively because of a investigation, a FISA warrant that was fabricated by the Democratic Party colluding with international Russian operatives. We would not have had the spying and the other things that were going on were it not for this FISA abuse that went on. And if we had demonstrated that that was not proper, then the entire operation would not have occurred. But because it was being run by people who wanted Trump out of office, it's amazing to our American society that a small group of people could essentially invalidate the entire presidency by making up a FISA process that they made up. And I think you're going to find that Comey, rather than writing op-eds, ought to be spending time hiring lawyers. And I will tell you that you're going to find that a lot of these guys who were involved, and I think you're going to find it's going to go all the way to the top, but a lot of these guys that you found were involved are going to be looking for defense lawyers. And I'm telling you that Office of Inspector General report is going to start, and then you have Barr, who's going to investigate thereafter. And again, I'm not all for investigations. I'm not all for attacking people. It just should never have started to begin with, so we wouldn't be wasting time. But the idea that we should look the other way and not investigate the investigators, not investigate those people who started this process and gave a fake platform to the Democratic Party, is absolutely preposterous. So I hope that whether you're a Democrat or Republican, you should want our American society to be better. You should want truth. You should want professionalism. You want to disagree with Barr, you can say, listen, I respectfully disagree with you, sir. This is the way I think it should be interpreted. But to name call and to do all that stuff is just despicable, and it sets the wrong message for our kids. And I think if we spend time now talking about what we can do to help society and help America and help people, I think we'll be in a better position. I think it's a sad state of commentary when we have a situation where nobody on the Democratic side can admit that anything Trump has done is good. The fact that he has the lowest unemployment in Hispanic environment, that he has the lowest unemployment in the African American environment, people can't admit that, even if they disagree with him, is despicable. The fact that they can't admit that he's signed numerous bills, that he's increased the economy, that he has grown all of these things, that his policies are working, is despicable. It really is. And it doesn't matter whether you disagree. You can disagree with the man. You can disagree with some of his policies. You can have different views than him. But to just attack and try to make it like he's this leprous person and everything in the world should be anti-Trump is just abhorrent. If you saw, many of you didn't see, but I'll leave you with this. If you saw Brian Williams, who 2 decades ago was a pillar of news and of integrity, in the middle of the presentation by Barr, in the middle of the presentation by Lindsey Graham, you have him interrupting. We have to stop right now because because he is lying. You know, he is not telling the truth. Amazing that a newscaster would stop in the middle of a presentation to point out that it's so left-leaning that he would be so manipulated into that is just shows a tragic and horrific left-leaning press is really troublesome. And again, I'll leave you with that. I'm not trying to point fingers at anybody. I'm not trying to criticize anybody, whether you're Republican or Democrat. I'm trying to criticize people who are sending our country the wrong way. I'm trying to criticize people that if you want to have discourse, it should be intelligent and mature. That's what I'm trying to say.
Well, I think a lot of there's a lot of manipulative hyperbole on the Democratic side, and I think that sums up what you just said, and I couldn't agree more. And I am being critical of the Democrats because it's clear that they are grasping for straws to try to throw something out there. The Barr, the Mueller report, the William Barr, Bill Barr, all that slant is just hot air. There is no merit to the being critical of Barr or his stance on what he did. It was a very simple thing. It was a very basic thing that's been put under a microscope, and it's really the only things that it's really the only thing right now that they have. And we've talked about this before, and I really think it's a critical mistake on their part to be sitting around having major, long, drawn-out conversations on this kind of thing. Biden coming out and having all these long-drawn criticisms of what Donald Trump said about Charlottesville in 2017, rehashing that. They cannot really stand on issues, and nobody is talking about issues and how to make things better or do this or do that. It's not substance, and it's always kind of been that way. But boy, are they doubling down on that? It's kind of an odd scene, and not to be overly confident, but if it continues down that road on that side, I really do feel like they're just handing over 2020 to Trump. I mean, all this chest beating about Barr, get over it, move on.
I don't think there's any question that you're absolutely right that they will lose the election if all of their discussions about that. And I think it's a real poor calculation on their part to do this. And it's just unfortunate because, like I said, I think that if you ask Democrats quietly, they would say that in part they're ashamed of what happened yesterday. They're saying that we can make better arguments. We can criticize the report or things like that. But the idea that Mueller, who they touted as the greatest human being to ever be born, that they touted, that he should be the next, whatever, and then now, well, we need to look behind the report and we need to get other information because we're not happy with the outcome. It's just awful, and this whole charade, this whole debate it's just so unfortunate. Let's talk about what we can do to help our children. Let's talk about how to, fix problems in the United States and benefit us and increase, jobs and increase our schools and better our systems and rebuild Tyndall and do things that are really helpful and productive. And if you want to disagree, great. Listen, we all don't have the exact views. Even among Republicans and Democrats, they don't have the exact views. Most people secretly are reasonably moderate. Most people fit within the middle of the scale, little left or a little right of the middle. And it's just tragic that this charade's going on and that our representatives are so conceited, are so full of themselves that they think they can do this in the idea of trying to, get ahead for their own personal gain. That's the irony is they're supposed to represent, their populations. They're not supposed to grandstand for their own personal benefit so they can get a few more votes or some more donations for their presidential campaign. They should go in and say, hey, listen, here's what I'm here to do. I'm here to make reasonable questions that I might disagree with you on. And if you look at just the way Barr addressed what Mueller did, that's the professionalism you want. he could have said, Mueller should never have written that letter to me. He purposely did that for a political reason. Mueller should never have gone through and written 200 pages on obstruction and then not agreed because he wanted to purposely harm the president. He should have said either we believe that there is obstruction or there's not, and if there's not, he shouldn't have put all that in the report because it was not necessary. That's like putting a whole bunch of things in a report and saying, well, he could be guilty of robbery. He could be guilty of theft. He could be guilty of cyber crimes. We're just going to throw that in there.
Right.
But did you see Barr? He didn't call him names. He just said, I wish you would have picked up a phone and called me. He said, I don't understand why he did that. Like, we thought he would come to a conclusion. I mean, he handled him in a professional way. And if it was the Democrats running that, and they didn't like Mueller, they would have hammered him and called him a liar and all those kinds of things. So it's just, in our opinion, in most reasonable people's opinions, it just would be great if we could focus on the issues. But I agree with you that it is wonderful in a dark way that they continue to carry this. They're talking about impeachment, and they're telling that Barr should resign because this constant far left stuff is just not going to win over the voters. And in the end, we're going to end up with a better place, with these people, suicidally imploding with this nonsense of what's going on.
Scott Major on the phone. Hop on the air, and we'll give you a MAGA hat. We'll give you a Scott Major, Major Parúas, and the Storm Help Team Love and Kisses You T-shirt this morning if you hop on. A MAGA hat included. 850-233-9988. 850-233-9988. More to come.
This is the Kramer Show. Kramer Show. More to come on NewsTalk at 101. Now live.
And now,
broadcasting live.
We will broadcast
live and local in the morning, right here in Panama City. This is Kramer in the Morning.
Any man who has ever tried to fight him has never come back.
It's the truth. He's like a curse upon us.
NewsTalk at 101.
Scott Major with us. Light him up off the air. 844-800-LAWS. Brad, you're up with Scott Major. What's up, Brad?
Hey, good morning. Thank you for taking my call.
Sure.
In my past life, I was actually a contractor in Northern California, so I've done a lot of work myself. I'm trying to get the mortgage company to release money. How do I do that?
Okay, so the first thing you need to do is you need to look at the specific mortgage documents because they will control what happens. Oftentimes, mortgage companies will unilaterally keep your money improperly, even though the mortgage documents do not permit them to do that, or they will make up rules which are not supportive of what those documents say. So the first thing is to look at your mortgage documents and then to write the mortgage company and say, please explain to me contractually why you're holding my money and not releasing it. They won't provide an excuse, and when they don't, then you have what's called the civil theft statute, which is Chapter 772 and Chapter 812, which you can write them a demand letter that says, if you do not return my money since you have it in an unauthorized way, I'll be suing you for civil theft, which is 3 times the amount of the money plus attorney's fees. So some mortgage companies have documents that will say we can use that money in XYZ way, or we can hold it to make sure the property's been protected. But essentially, they cannot just keep your money unilaterally and make up rules, and a lot of them do. So that's the process, what I'd recommend you do in that order. And then if you need help from us, 844-800-LAWS, and we'll be happy to help you. But that would be a way to go.
Perfect. Start with that and go from there. Thank you very much.
Have a great day and take care of yourself.
Marianne, you're on the Kramer Show with Scott Major. Go ahead, Marianne.
Well, good morning, Tootsie. I have got to tell you, this is the very best conversation in town. It's like we are sitting here all together, and he talks with such intelligence, and he says it so quiet. Honey, I can't tell you how much I appreciate it. It's the most intelligent conversation in the world.
That is
really
so thoughtful. and I'll send you those checks at the end of the week.
Okay. Do I get a hat, honey? Do I get a shirt?
Of
What do I
course,
get?
of course. Hang on one second, Marianne. Marianne, we're going to pick up. Rachel will pick up, get your name and number and all that stuff, and we'll hook you up with the MAGA hat. Boy, I can tell you something. The MAGA hats, just something as simple as the MAGA hat or the Love and Kisses You T-shirts. People are so into them. They absolutely are. You know what's so great is I meet a lot of the people that come to pick their things up. A lot of people come and pick their things up in the morning. And I go out into the lobby and have conversations with people. And half of them usually give a compliment on Scott Major. Just want to let you know, people are listening and they really are enjoying it. So, Scott, thank you for...
Think they enjoy it? That's really great to hear that they enjoy it, because we really want to give them some sound advice and also some sound commentary that makes sense.
If you'd like to get on and pick the brain of Scott Major, I mean, we talk about politics, but we also, we've been talking about the hurricane for, 203 days, by the way. It's been 203 days. So if there's anything going on post-hurricane that you need legal advice on, Scott is the guy, and he will give you solid advice. All you got to do is hop on the air. 850-233-9988 is the phone number, 850-233-9988. Their website is stormhelpteam.org, stormhelpteam.org. I did watch a little bit of the hearing yesterday with Barr. Barr is not going to be back today. He said yesterday he's not going to be back on there today. I'm like you. I thought he was really intelligent. He was extremely well spoken. And what's so great too is here's what I love to do. After anything like that, I always love going to Fox News, and then going to CNN and enjoying the complete disparity between the two's coverage of something so basic that happened. It's wildly entertaining. Got to take a break. Scott Major, more to come next.
This is the Kramer Show on Panama City's information station, NewsTalk at 101. It isn't politically correct. It isn't politically correct. It's just correct. It's just correct. This is the Kramer Show on Panama City's information station, NewsTalk at 101.
Scott Major with us, 850-233-9988. Scott Major from Major Parúas in the Storm Help Team, stormhelpteam.org. Let me go to Marty. Marty, you're up with Scott Major. Go ahead.
Hey, Scott, I spoke to you the other day on the phone. I went ahead and hired a structural engineer to come out, and they're coming out next Thursday. But on Monday, the insurance is sending out a structural engineer. Do I tell the insurance that I am having an independent one come out later in the week? I couldn't get them both at the same time, but the insurance doesn't know I'm hiring an independent.
I don't think there's anything wrong with either telling them or not telling them. I think the first thing is to really try to see if your engineer can somehow make an exception for you and show up when they're there, even though I know it's difficult for that engineer, by telling them that, you have the insurance company coming out only one time, and it would be incredibly helpful for this engineer to be out and to hear them. If you can't do that, if there's no way they can make an exception, which would be the most productive thing, then have somebody else walk around the property with the engineer. If you have a public adjuster, or if you have, a local contractor or somebody who can decrypt what the engineer is saying and ask them some important questions about the specific things they're looking at structurally, that would be helpful, because you'd like to have a witness out there who will say what the engineer did and didn't do, how much time he spent on the property, what he said or didn't say, and in response to questions, how he responded. So if you're looking at a foundational issue or windows or other things, somebody with intelligence can say, hey, well, what do you think of this? Do you think these are down? Do you think the structural integrity is at risk? Tell me why. And most engineers that are going out there have no problem expressing themselves. They'll say things like, oh, yeah, this looks really damaged. They won't say nothing. And that will be very helpful for you in the future. So I think that would be the approach. Do everything you can to accomplish that. And if you have any further questions, obviously call us and we can talk offline about other strategies.
Well, I couldn't get the independent engineer to come out any sooner than Thursday. But should I call the one that the insurance is hiring and ask them if they can delay till Thursday?
Yeah, I think that would be great if you can get them out the same day. 3 days isn't going to matter. And if you say, listen, I'm going to have another representative take you around and show you the exact, places where you should be looking to help you out. And I want to know if you can come on Thursday instead of Monday.
Okay. I just didn't know if I should spring it on the insurance or keep it mum or that. But,
No. You can spring it on. It's no problem. Listen, engineers will talk to engineers, and that's a good thing. And again, if your engineer is capable, they'll know to go out there and ask the right questions because your engineer is supporting your claim, and you'll get a lot of intel. A lot of times when people talk, they will communicate in a way that you and I might not communicate, and that will be productive for you.
Okay. All right. Appreciate it.
Bada bing. Thank you, Marty.
And I'll tell you just quickly before you get to another call, it's really significant when you have, for all your listeners, when you have an insurance adjuster, a general contractor, an engineer, anybody who goes out to the property on behalf of the insurance company, you should always have someone on your side out there. And the reason is because a lot of times helpful and productive dialogue occurs, especially now 6 months, 7 months into the storm, you're trying to get to a resolution. So your adjuster, your representative, your lawyer, your somebody can be out there and saying, hey, listen, I've got this estimate here. Let's walk through this. Tell me what you agree with and don't agree with. And a lot of times that person who goes out there for that reinspection or that engineering will say, yeah, you got a point there. That's true. And this is false because of these reasons. So that's the concept.
Okay, let's skip over to Scott. Scott, you're up with Scott Major. Hi.
Hi, how are you guys this morning?
We're great.
Great. How yourself?
Good. First of all, I want to thank you guys for all the information that you've been putting out for all the residents in Bay County and the surrounding areas, because your insight is invaluable to a lot of people.
Thanks so much.
And my question is, now that the hurricane has been categorized as a 5, does that change the deductible or as far as other significant damage that may have occurred? Does that obligate the insurance company if the contractor that you've put a retainer with is going to be doing the work and he finds other damages? Can he or they put in a supplemental insurance claim for those to be repaired, even though the initial adjuster that came out said, for example, it's $25,000 worth of damage, and they find other things that have occurred that they didn't initially put on there? Is that something that they can submit to the insurance company to receive more money to repair those damages?
By the way, I want to say this. I'm so glad you brought that up. I have gotten that question about the deductible, the Cat 5, a million times, and I'm glad to finally remember to ask Scott Major. Scott Major, you have the floor.
Thank you so much. So let's make a couple of things clear. First, the changing from a Category 4 to 5 has nothing to do with deductibles. There's no benefit whatsoever from the status of what an insurance policy provides. Having said that, when you have a Category 5 storm, it is a worse storm for juries and for judges and for people who are evaluating these claims. You are entitled to all the money that the contract provides. If you forget to put in a window or you forget to put in certain claims, you can make as many supplemental claims as you want. Every listener out there should make sure that their windows are evaluated and that they've looked at them even if they're not broken, because those windows are common in supplemental claims. If somebody made a mistake and forgot to put a certain amount of drywall in, there is no problems with making as many supplemental claims or correcting or finding out additional things. Usually when the storm is a worse storm, it becomes more difficult for insurance companies to claim that it is some sort of prior problem. Additionally, it's helpful to lawyers like us because when we go to bat for you, we're going to say this is a Category 5 storm, the worst storm that's documentable in the world. And you're telling me that you won't pay for the roof that was blown off, as well as the 50 roofs in the neighborhood that were already paid for? I mean,
Right.
It provides a lot of fodder, a lot of weight for us as lawyers. But the important thing to remember is it doesn't change your contract. It doesn't make the deductibles. Actually, what the Category 5 storm declaration actually helps is cities and governments, because it provides for more funding, for more additional things to do that they otherwise wouldn't be able to get. But I love the true statement that it's a Category 5, because it was, in my opinion. I've done these storms for quite some time, and I'll tell you, it will help you overall and help every listener out there. Make a claim for every bit of damage that was caused by the storm. And if your first people made a mistake or didn't do a good job or don't have enough, there's no problem with making a supplemental claim. I don't care if it's for $100.
Okay. That's great to hear. I really appreciate, Scott, the information you just gave us.
Yeah, well, thanks so much, and thanks for the kind comments, and thank you, Kramer, also for saying such nice things. I really appreciate that. What I'm out there doing is trying to help people, and trying to make a difference, and also, whether we're talking about politics or whatever, that we're enlightening our audience, that we're giving them information that makes them think about what's going on in the world, and also that perhaps helps them and makes them feel more comfortable or more confident that they're entitled to rebuild in the way in which they deserve.
Well, yes, sir, and you articulate everything so clearly. And Kramer, I'm so glad that you have gentlemen like Mr. Majors on to provide that information. And I wish everybody would pass along to their people that they know that if they want some information, to please listen to the show in the morning, because the insight that you provide is extraordinary.
Listen, Scott, I'm going to put you on hold because I want Rachel to pick up, and I want to make sure that we get you one of Scott's Major shirts. And you already got it? We're thumbs up? Okay. Enjoy that shirt. Enjoy that hat. And, Scott, call us anytime, okay, my friend?
All right. You guys have a wonderful day. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Listen, I know, you and I joke around a lot, but I got to tell you, I'm probably your biggest fan, Scott Major. I really am, and I think that not only are you doing some amazing things, you're giving people information that they can use, and it's really important. And sometimes, we'll get on a subject like AOBs, like assignment of benefits, and we've talked about assignment of benefits. But I don't think people keep up with that like you do, So when something like that happens, I think giving that information out is incredibly valuable to people. And we're also, you also have to realize, just in general, we are still in a learning phase. We're still learning about this process. This is not over. We're not even, right. We're 6 months into it. So we have a long way to go.
You're absolutely right. And I'll tell you, in terms of the education, I just had a meeting yesterday with one of the representatives of one of the largest public adjusting firms in Florida. And I'll tell you that they were just, when are you coming to talk to our company? Because the knowledge you have of educating people and of educating us to be better public adjusters is second to none. There's a lot of lawyers out there that are dabbling in this business. There's not a lot of lawyers that have lived this, and no lawyers I know of, zero lawyers I know of, that were the top of the insurance company, a lawyer, and then became, or are on the plaintiff side helping consumers. So it's this education is so important, and it's so important not only for now, but for the future. But I'll tell you, there's nothing more gratifying for me than to feel like I'm making a difference. There's nothing more than any case anybody could give me. There's a higher calling of giving in this world. And if you're lucky enough to have the intelligence to be able to give information and make people's lives better, you have the duty to do it.
I was talking to I had a meeting with the Cajun Navy when I got off the air yesterday, and I'm sitting around, I'm talking to her, and they're doing very practical things. They're one of the things that they're about to do is give out suits. They're going to give out suits to men so that they can go out and, go to job interviews or do things in the community, things that they need to do. And they're these really nice suits. And I remember right after the hurricane hearing a lot about the Cajun Navy, and those guys started over, I think, in New Orleans or in Louisiana. And the things that they do that are practical, they were right after the storm, they were sending people food with drones. And what I'm getting to is that there are a lot of people out there that are absolutely trying to really do practical things to help people. And I think being on the air as an attorney and talking about all of these things as they're unfolding is hugely and immensely important. And I think on a business level, you'll see long-term benefit of that for a very long time. And people associate emotion with you when they hear you because they can tell that you're very genuine about what you're talking about and you're very intelligent with it. And that extends to being able to go into public and speak and go to condo associations or to a public adjusting firm. A lot of people listening may not know that you do that. Maybe we need to put that out there. If Scott is someone that you're listening to and you think, wow, I have a group of people that could hugely benefit by having him come into town, come into our place, speaking, he will do it.
Absolutely. I'll go to neighborhoods. I'll go to condos. I'll go to your religious organization, and preach the faith along with some education. I'll go ahead and talk to any group that wants to get together, neighborhood groups, anybody who wants public adjusters. I have a lot of public adjuster referrals. I get referrals from building contractors. I get referrals from roofers. I mean, lots of people who come to me because they're at a point where they either got some money and didn't get the rest, or they're struggling to understand why they shouldn't get a max amount of money. And I keep reminding people, I don't care if your claim is $1,000 or $1 million. If you haven't been paid, I will absolutely help you.
I think didn't you go to Gambrill and Sturr? Was that something that you did? I think Deb was telling me that you went and spoke. I don't think it was for Gambrill and Sturgis, but I think that's who upped this. It was a speaking engagement through a church organization, and you went and spoke. I want to say that was about 2 months ago, maybe. Rachel?
Yes. When I get invited by organizations, whether they're business organizations or religious organizations or just groups of interested people, I'll go and speak to any group. And in fact, one time they set up a sort of an emergency type thing. They wanted a group of people to be seen. And so I couldn't get there physically, so they Skyped me in, put it on a giant screen. I mean, it doesn't matter how soon you need it, how important it is. This is a labor of love for me. And regardless of the amount of the claim or what education you and I have talked about this, and it bears reminding that if you have one person in your neighborhood that has gotten recovery, you are likely to be able to get recovery too, because it's hard for the insurance company to say that 50 feet away from you, the winds were different when they fixed their roof. So, bears reminding that, any claims that are in the neighborhood, if we get all of the neighborhood together, just imagine what that's like, for an insurance company when they get a letter from 16 of the residents of this one entire block or this section, of homeowner association or condo association, what kind of response you're going to get.
Got to take a break. We got some phones. Let's do some phones on the way back. Deb, you sit tight, 850-233-9988. More to come with Scott Major, Major Parúas, and the Storm Help Team. Their phone number for off the air, 844-800-LAWS.
This is the Kramer Show. More to come on NewsTalk at 101.
Scott Major from Scott Major Parúas, and the Storm Help Team. Their website address, stormhelpteam.org. 844-800-LAWS. Their phone number. You got a question? Call 844-800-LAWS. Deb, you're up with Scott Major. Hello, Deb.
Good morning. How are my two favorite educators this morning?
You don't even know how much we love you, Debbie.
Bless her heart. Thank you. Well, Blanca and I are working on a project outside of Mariana for a group that we thought Mariana was largely forgotten. This group is outside of Mariana and even more forgotten. So that's our project, but it's not put together yet, but we're working on it with one of the religious groups there.
Okay.
That's awesome. You know,
And
I would
do
encourage
have a question for you, Scott, that we are starting to get really frequently regarding commercial accounts, condominiums, that are with the large conglomerate layered policies where it is taking, they're asking, is it appropriate that it is taking approximately a month to get the check once the process starts. So they'll give a bid to the field adjuster. The field adjuster has, his time, a week or so, to put the information together, make a recommendation, yay or nay, get it to his examiner. Sometimes that examiner has to go to their manager. Each of those people have a week to look at it, and then it goes to the carriers. Sometimes there's 3, 4, 5 of them if it's a big condo with a layered policy, and the carriers have 10 business days in which to review it before the examiner is even allowed to follow up to say, hey, what's your decision? We haven't heard from you. It's causing a lot of frustration.
What I suggest that you do is in every situation in which you have an estimate, you should be writing correspondence to them that says, dear insurance company, we've given you this adjustment or this estimate on X day. We have not heard from you in 10 days or 20 days or whatever it is. There's no reason in the world why you shouldn't be approving the payment of the entire estimate. It has been now 6 months since the loss. We timely reported it. We've done nothing to inhibit your ability to provide that, and we are making demand that you pay that money immediately, or to provide a specific explanation in writing why you're not paying that immediately. Love and kisses you. And if they don't pay, or if you've already attempted that and they're not paying, file your civil remedies notice. File your complaint under 624.155. And every time they delay, file another one. Because it's important to let the insurance companies know that you cannot use a bigger loss or a larger building as an excuse to delay even further. We are 6 months into the storm. As I've said several times, they should be backing up a truck and
absolutely
pouring out their money to you.
Scott Major, thank you so much for a great hour. To contact him, 844-800-LOSS. Thanks again, Mr. Major.
Thanks a lot. Have a great day, and thanks for all you do, pal.
This is Kramer.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.